Hi, this video is going to show how to turn our Brother embroidery machine into a sewing machine so you can use the hundreds of decorative stitches or utility stitches that are a part of this machine. Now, before we take the embroidery arm off, we need to make sure that the arm is in its storage position. So we'll turn the machine on and we'll hit the screen. It's cautioning us to keep our hands and accessories away from here. There is a little button here, embroidery arm, storage position, always press when removing embroidery unit. We'll push that and then the arm gets moved to this back corner. That's its storage position. Now I can turn the machine off, and then we'll put our hand on the handle right here and push button, and you will gently slide it off to the left, put it in a safe place. And then I'm going to show you that there's a little trap door here. You need to make sure that that closes. Come on. Just snag it with your fingernail. You don't want anything metal to fall down in there. This one looks a little loose for some reason. Don't try to jam anything. Be very gentle. But we will close that to protect it. Now, I like to sew with a table on, so we have extra tables, and just come and put that on. Now it's a sewing machine. We'll turn the machine back on, and I want you to notice the side panel here. The top one is utility stitches. The second one is decorative stitches. So when I open up the screen, it's highlighted at the top one. Now, if I push the second one, it's highlighted for lots of decorative stitches. If I try to do embroidery or embroidery edit, it will beep at me because we don't currently have the embroidery unit on. So we can only access utility stitches, which you have pages and pages to choose from. It has over 10 buttonholes. And then we have the decorative stitches. And it's the decorative stitches that I'm going to talk about once I show you how to change the presser foot. Right now we have the embroidery foot on, so we will go ahead and take that off. I thought I had the snap-on one, but it is not. Okay. Usually there's a snap-on embroidery foot, but this one happens to be a screw-on. So we'll unscrew it, put it in a safe place, because we always put these machines back to embroidery setup, not the sewing machine setup. But we encourage you to use them for regular sewing. Now we need to get a regular presser foot, and they are all stored in the back of the room. You need a snap-on shank and a snap-on foot. If you're doing regular stitching, you'll use the J. That's the all-purpose foot. So I'll put that one on first. And then it just slides on. Lower the presser foot, and then you've got a button back here. You just push it. Now you've got the regular foot on. We also need to wind a bobbin. When we use the machine for embroidery, we use the pre-wound disposable bobbins, thinner thread, but when you want to use the sewing machine part, you need to get from your teacher a brother bobbin. It is a special size, so don't try to use yours. And I will show you how to wind the bobbin. You'll just put it up here, put your thread on the horizontal spindle with the thread coming off the bottom towards the front, and then get a spool cap. I should have one that's a little bit bigger. And then you'll thread back here, up and around, and then come over here. The little diagram will show you which direction to thread it. It has a little cutter. You'll cut it right there. And then you'll just push it over, and then with the foot pedal, start it. Save time. We'll just stop it right there. Now, come down here, and there's a diagram. Lets you know which direction to put the bobbin in. Thread is coming counterclockwise. Put it in, You've got a little arrow that shows you where to put the bobbin. Goes all the way up here to the little cutter, cut off. Then put your little bobbin cover back on. That's ready to go. Now we'll come back up here, take the thread off the bobbin winder. Follow the number 3, take up lever 4, 5, and thread it. Front to back. You do not need to bring your bobbin thread up. But we do want to put our thread from front to back under the presser foot. Okay, I'm not going to show you utility stitches. That's pretty self-explanatory. Here's your stitch width, your stitch length, your tension. We're going to go to decorative stitches because I want to show you two things. I want to show you how you can use this as a quilting machine to do little bar tacks, and then we'll do the scallop satin stitch. You could do decorative stitches for your little bar tacks for your quilt. You could come in and choose maybe this design, and instead of R for repeat, if you'll do S for single, it will just do that design and stop. Okay, but I do like the satin stitches, so we're going to go into this center one here, and I like the leaf and I like the diamond, so I'm just going to choose the diamond. And I don't want R for repeat, I want S for single. So if this was a quilt, I would mark on the top of my quilt and have my quilt sandwich all ready, and I would put it under the presser foot, lower the presser foot, and I would not use the foot pedal. So I'm going to unplug the foot pedal, and I'm just going to use the start and stop button. So you will just push the start button and let it do its little design. It's doing a diamond. It's saying that my upper thread might be breaking, but it hasn't. It's fine, so I'm going to just push that again. And when it's finished, it will do a little stitch in one spot, like a back stitch. And then when you're finished, after it stops, you'll just push on the scissors, and it will cut your thread tail for you. This makes it really easy to quilt using bar tacks. You're using the start and stop button, you're using the scissors, so you'll have less thread tails to deal with. And you could finish a quilt very quickly doing it this method. You can use the foot pedal, but this way saves you time. Okay, now I'm going to show you the satin stitch, and for this one I do need my foot pedal. Where is it? So we're going to go back to the middle. These are the satin stitches, and there are 2 scallop stitches. This one's my favorite because it goes from skinny to large to skinny again, but this is also one. You need to understand that down here you have a feature called elongation. If I select this while elongation is at number 1, you'll see that the scallops are quite small, really close to each other. They're harder to cut out. So what I like to do is, before you select what you want, go to elongation. I like 4 and 5, so we'll show you what 4 looks like. So now it's elongated, but it will still give you the condensed stitches. Or let me show you the 5, and it's even longer. Okay, this is great for hams, edging a baby blanket, bibs, or lace. Usually this is done on a single layer of fabric. We need to use the satin stitch foot. This machine is really smart, and whatever stitch you select, it will tell you what foot to use. We use the satin stitch foot, which is N. It has a beveled bottom, which helps allow the fabric to move better for a bulky stitch. So we'll take the regular foot off, and then line up the next foot, lower the presser foot, and it snaps right on. We're now ready to sew the scallop stitch. It's usually a hem, so it's usually on 1 layer of fabric. If you find that your fabric puckers, you can use a stabilizer strip. It's just a little tiny piece, long strip of stabilizer. You could put that right underneath where you're going to stitch. It's tear away, so after you stitch it, you can just tear it off. This fabric seems to be stable enough that I don't need it. Make sure you stitch within 1/4 inch so that you've got a little allowance there, otherwise your fabric could pucker. And we'll do the scallop stitch. I am on elongation number 5. If I was going to curve around this, if it was a bib or a burp cloth or a baby blanket, I would curve the corners. But since this is a sample, we'll just go to this ends. You can see it forming. Okay, we'll stop about there. We'll push the scissors, cut it. Usually you would want to cut this with the curved scissors. I don't have those right now, so I've got straight scissors. You want to trim down your edge, your raw edges. You don't want to cut into your scallops, but you want to get as close as you can so we don't really see that fabric there. And then that satin stitch will hold it and the fabric will not ravel. This is a great decorative hem. It could be used for one of your hem samples. And there you go. Elongation number 5, 4, and 5 are my favorite. I like the wider scallops.